All right. I filmed this same video a few days ago and was not smart and did not realize that my audio was not recording, but I already tested it now, so we should be good to go. This is a interview with Scott Peterson, and this was in 2003. Now, if you aren't well known with the Laci Peterson case, well, this man has been convicted of unaliving his pregnant wife, Laci Peterson, and he has been in prison for over 2 decades now, but he still tries to maintain his innocence. And I thought, in the midst of all this Peacock stuff coming out, that we would bring up one of his old interviews that is just so awkward, so strange, and just kind of seals the deal even more on the type of person he is in general. So we're gonna go ahead and get into it. You're going to be hearing my parents' dog in the background, and she's completely fine. She's just fucking crazy. So let's get into it.
First of all, describe what the past month has been for you.
It's been absolutely terrible, as it is for everyone. I mean, you see us in press conference. You haven't seen me as much in the media, but you see our families and the raw emotion that's out there, and the grief, the frustration. You know, we go through a range of emotions, from anger to frustration to grief.
So I said this in my last video, and it was something that I was like, damn, will I remember it if I remake this video? I always consider myself a very mentally unstable, kind of hence the name here, person, but it really takes a pure psychotic person to be on national television, playing this character and wearing the pin of the woman, his wife, that he unalived, pregnant, by the way, and like continue with this whole gamut of lies.
For me, it comes at different times during the day. 2 weeks ago, I knew exactly what to do. I'd go to the volunteer center at the Red Lion and open up the center and wait for the volunteers to come and work on things. And
see, and I think, I know this interview happened after Amber Fry came out. So he's saying, 2 weeks ago, I would just go to the center and hand out flyers, and he wasn't showing face after his mistress came out. So,
and then I'd go out and put up flyers. I knew exactly what to do, and that was going to bring Laci home. And now I don't know exactly what to do, and that's so frustrating. That's the hardest part. I mean, we have a core group of volunteers still working to get her picture out there nationally through corporations and organizations, and obviously media and other means. So we continue to work tirelessly, many people do, to bring her home. And we can do that during the day, and unfortunately at night, don't know what to do, and the grief hits, and it's...
Another thing, guys, is I don't have an editing system yet, so
you recognize,
just bear with me when it comes to the ads.
That Laci is hurting worse than any of us. She's the one that's not with our family.
Cue the theatrics.
She's the one that we need to find and bring home.
I know you have
So
moments.
that gives you focus. It gives you, there are times when you just can't continue, and if you're driving, you have to pull over and stop, and if you're doing something, you just...
By the way, it's Gloria Gomez who is interviewing him. If you don't know who Gloria Gomez is, she's a legend in the journalism world.
Can't continue. Try to stay busy and have a task, to know what to do, a positive task, and try to focus on that.
I know that there are certain areas you can't go to. It's hard to go to the park.
It's It's hard to go to, yeah, it's important though, because in the mornings when down there alone, I feel closer to her.
Lord.
Maybe that's a attempt to communicate or something, but yeah, definitely.
And you mentioned right off the start.
By the way, if you guys don't know what he looks like now, I'm gonna show you really quickly because he's really heavy back then. He's like literally withering away in prison as he should. Let's see. Where's that recent? Here he is. But there's actually one where he has like a freaking man bun, and he's like, it's from the Peacock documentary, and he just looks, oh my gosh, it's freaking wretched. But yeah, if you're wondering, he's oh, here's another. Ugh, Lord. Okay, sorry.
That you haven't been in the media.
No. It was for the first 3 days or so when she disappeared. It was an absolute privacy issue. Not showing the grief of our family, not exploiting that. After that, it was a conscious decision to remain out of the media eye, decided upon by everyone in the family and the volunteers, in order to, and I'm sorry to say it to media, but to keep the media here, to keep them hungry for, an interview with me or a picture, so that they would keep coming back, so this story won't fall through the cracks as it has happened with other missing people, with other abductions. And it's up to the family to keep that going. So we made that conscious decision together that I wouldn't speak. Obviously, we did lots of media with the rest of the family. And to keep them here, I didn't. But unfortunately now, the suspicions of me have grown so great due to people, wondering what happened to the, inappropriate relationship that I had with Amber Fry, that it's necessary to speak. It's appropriate time to, in order to ask people to keep looking for Laci, because they're not looking for Laci as much as they should be right now.
Let's talk about some of those suspicions, because there are a lot of suspicions out there. I think people want to know, first of all, why would you leave Laci, who is 8.5 months pregnant, alone to go fishing on Christmas Eve?
Okay.
Exactly. That is... But see, he's going to be like, well, I'll let him speak. But then he wants all of us to believe that she would walk across the street during an active burglary at almost 9 months pregnant, but wouldn't go golfing with him.
Our day was planned for, Christmas
or fishing,
Eve dinner
whatever the
at our mom's
bullshit he
house, our mom's
fucking
house.
made up.
Preparations were all made, gifts done. Laci was simply going to be baking that day, and it's not uncommon for us to, simply, we have separate pursuits. She does not, play golf as I do, which was my other option for that day. And being, 7.5 months pregnant, she's not going to want to go out in a boat. But it's simply a leisure activity to pursue that day.
It was that where he's like, I think he said she was 7.5 months pregnant. I'm not really sure. I thought she was like, I saw on some documentary that she went to a Christmas party the night before at a friend's house, and she couldn't even stand for that long because she was just so, her feet were swollen and she needed to sit down because of the pregnancy. So
and it was
for us to believe that she walked across the street during an active burglary is what his sister-in-law wants us to believe.
what our plans were. It may not be everyone's choice to do things like that, but it's the way that our relationship works.
I know when I approached you on Amber Fry, and I told you that I would be reporting that you had a girlfriend,
Right.
Your response to me is that you had no comment either way. Why didn't you just come clean then?
Well, I'm glad you asked the question.
Are you glad?
it simply, wasn't appropriate to comment on it. And unfortunately, there has been a statement in the press that I denied it, which was made with another reporter when I characterized a National Enquirer article as a pack of lies. And I did so without reading the article, unfortunately. The article I thought to include, I know also included a supposed life insurance policy, supposed blood evidence, and I forget what else, but also included the report of Amber.
Okay.
So
This is his cell phone going off. And it gets really weird and murky because you can tell he doesn't know if he should say anything, but it's like he's discussing Amber Fry and his cell phone's going off. And at one point he's like, should I go turn that off?
No.
And then they do him dirty and they keep it rolling and they fucking play it.
Called it a pack of lies, not knowing that she was in there. So it's
That's Laci coming through saying like, he's a fucking liar. Lying ass bitch.
just not important to comment about that. I'm glad that Amber came forward. You want me to turn that off?
Yeah, what is that?
That's my phone, unfortunately. I thought it was off. And I'll just answer that question again.
That's
Somewhere
so
here.
funny.
Yeah, it's kind of going crazy, isn't it?
Who was that? They zoom in on the Merry Christmas.
Okay.
And did Laci write that? I bet you she did. That's eerie. That's crazy. That is really crazy. I wonder who was calling him. Probably his attorney.
Yeah, so if you just want to ask your question again, I'll just...
Okay. So, once again, if you can just...
He totally probably thought that they were gonna cut that out. Maybe they did for the original one. I don't know, but who really cares?
talk about why didn't you just come forward at the time when I asked you if you had a girlfriend? Why didn't you just come clean then?
Right. At that time, it wasn't appropriate to comment about because it's not relevant. And I'm glad you asked it because there were reports that I denied it. When I characterized a National Enquirer article as a pack of lies that included, unknowing to me, I knew that the article included this supposed life insurance policy bought this summer, supposed blood evidence and other strange reports like taking the floors out of our home. And I didn't know it included, this relationship that I had. So I characterized that as a pack of lies, and that's come out as a denial, it was never intended to be. I simply approached that issue as it's not relevant, and there's no reason to comment about it. There's a reason to comment about the number. Now I'm glad that Amber did the press conference. I'm glad that she came forward because it allows us.
Really?
It allows lots of
I'm
people,
sure
I
you're so
believe,
glad.
to start looking for Laci again because it's slacked off because of that, because there's suspicion about me.
She claims you deceived her. She claims
Amber?
that, yeah.
Yes, she
claims
did
that
not
you-
know. She did not know that I was married. That is correct. So I'm glad she came forward. I informed her that I am married, and of Laci's disappearance
After
shortly
the
after,
fact.
Christmas Eve. It was a couple of days after Christmas Eve. I don't know the exact date. I'm glad she did the press.
But he told, when he started his relationship with Amber Fry weeks prior to Laci even going missing, he had stated, and I think this is pretty much where they got premeditation from, was because he stated to Amber Fry that it was a tragedy of his wife or something along those lines. Don't quote me on it, but that's what they continued to bring up.
Press conference. I'm glad that's out there. It had nothing to do with Laci's disappearance.
Your stomach must have been turning, though, when you see her go on television, and it's national. And here's this girl saying,
Gloria
he
doing him
lied
so
to me.
dirty.
He told me he was single.
Sure.
I mean, your stomach must have been turning.
You know what is a positive to allow us to go on to search for Laci. That's how I view it, and that's how I felt about it.
The Rocha family
I said, good,
says,
this will be done, and we can keep looking for Laci.
Now, you know Laci's family says they can no longer trust you.
That
What are
was
your thoughts on that?
unfair and inappropriate for me to have that relationship.
How do you feel
And
though that the Rocha family says they can't
they're
trust you?
they're wonderful people, the Rocha family. I know that
He was prepped
we
really
all have
good.
love between us,
He was
and I know that we'll
prepped
keep
very
searching for
well
Laci.
for this interview.
And I told Laci about the relationship. She knew about it, and it's important between us. And we'll continue to search for her. We'll bring her home.
That's
That's
another
all I know
problem
what to
people
say.
had a big issue with. A lot of Laci's family
I'm
talked to
gonna
me
go
and
pee and
friends
keep this
saying,
playing.
if Laci
Y'all
knew
know I
that
got a
you were
bladder
having an
issue.
affair, she would have said something to someone. She wouldn't have kept quiet about it.
I don't know if she mentioned it to anyone or not. I did see a report in the news, an interview with a friend of ours, Lori, that indicated that she did not believe that I had told Laci. Lori also said, I know Scott, and he had nothing to do with her disappearance. And that statement to me is what's relevant. Because you can, question my morals and my poor decision making. That's fine. But don't stop looking for Laci. She's out there somewhere. She shouldn't be. She should be with our family.
You
So
mentioned,
let's keep working to bring her
I
home.
know that you mentioned during the network interview that only you and Laci know your marriage.
That's correct.
Explain that.
Just as anyone's intimate relationships, it's it's between those two people. And yes, you share things with people, and some things you don't share with people.
Now, did Laci find out about the affair, or did you just come out and tell her?
No, I informed her about it.
You
I don't
just-
believe she knew.
Why come out? I mean, what made you say, I'm going to tell her today? What made that day the day to tell her?
Just because it was the right thing to do. And as you know, when you're not doing the right thing, it just, eats you up. You feel, sick to your stomach, and you can't function, and you have a hard time, looking at someone.
Right. You mentioned it was the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But from my understanding is that after you told Laci, you continued to see Amber. Was that also the
I
right
saw
thing to
her,
do?
yeah. No, it was not.
Explain that.
That is the explanation. It was not the right thing to do.
Cold.
But you continued to do
It's
it.
like in the
Right, and it
50s
was
in
not the
Florida
right thing
right
to do.
And then even
Okay, sorry. I'm sure there was just a crap ton of noise. My husband and daughter left to go get dinner, so and I'm trying to track my Amazon packages. All right, I was saying it's just really cold here in Florida today. Just today. It'll be hot tomorrow. Let's get back into it.
even after Laci went missing, you continued to romance this girl?
No.
She claims that you called her on the 24th and told her
I informed Amber about Laci's disappearance and the fact that I was married.
on the 24th. December
No,
24th.
not on the 24th. I believe it was probably it was a few days after.
She says that you called her on the 24th, December 24th, and told her you were with your parents in Maine.
Okay. This is, I called her and informed her about Laci's disappearance.
On the 24th of December.
No, I did not. It was a few days after that I called her and told her I was married.
Okay. But
No.
she claims, let me just finish. She just claims that you called her on the 24th, told her that you were going to Maine, you were visiting your family in Maine, and then you were going to Brussels.
Gloria, I'm not going to waste what little media time we have, and in this forum, with, this is a short newscast, and I don't know how much of these words you're going to use or not, but I'm not going to waste that by defending myself or talking about irrelevant things. It's better served if we talk about what happened and where's Laci.
This motherfucker.
So the facts are that we know that on Christmas Eve,
I am no body language expert or anything like that, but I will say he tries to control this entire interview, and once he realizes that he's fucking with the wrong one when it comes to Gloria Gomez and she's gonna take it there, he starts at coming soon, within the next few seconds, he will start making eye contact with the actual camera itself, and she acknowledges it. But he can't. He's so uncomfortable.
I left the house
I mean, there's a reason why Scott Peterson has not spoken out in over 2 decades after being convicted.
here around 9:30. She was here in the home. Okay, that's a fact that has to get out there because it's been reported erroneously that I saw her leave the house. Okay, she was in the house. It's one thing we know. Second thing we know is that the dog was returned to our yard with its leash on at 10:30 by a neighbor. And those are the 2 things we know about her disappearance. And hopefully those can help some people. There are things that we need to get out there are the tip lines, which is the Modesto Police Tip Line, 209-342-6166, and also 1-866-LACI info, L-A-C-I info. And that's a tip line for people who have talked to the police. Even if they talk to them, please call that tip line if you saw her that day, if you've seen her since, or if there's something you think is important in the neighborhood. We want to be very specific.
Okay.
The other big push that we need is LaciPeterson.com. People can go there and print off the flyers and distribute those into every medical center and bus stop, high traffic area in the nation, because it could be the next flyer that brings her home to our family.
And I know.
He's a scary type of murderer, because this type of murder they come off so fucking normal. So, like, guy next fucking door-ish. It's scary as fuck. This is scarier to me than, like, John Wayne Gacy. And that motherfucker was scary. But this just freaks me the fuck out.
Know more than I know that you want to find Laci, and the second thing you want to do is clear yourself from suspicion, correct? I mean, that is, you want the focus back on Laci and not on you.
I want people looking for Laci, because they're not doing that right now. And that's why I'm sitting down with you, in hopes that people will go, you know what? If I think he had some involvement, if I don't think he had some involvement, that doesn't matter, because Laci is what matters, and she's out there missing, and she needs to be home with her families. So I don't care to defend myself. I don't care what people think of me. You know, as I've said, question my moral character if you want to, but look at your heart, think of Laci, her picture, baby.
And then Gloria's must be like, that's another thing. You haven't brought up Connor at all. He's like, I just can't. Shut up.
And make the effort to bring her home. And that's a simple reality. That's a simple thing we need to do. Just, think whatever you want of me. As long as you're out there and you're comfortable with yourself, that you're doing what you need to be doing to find Laci and bring her home.
I know that law enforcement officials have told me that you won't take a lie detector test, that you've wavered back and forth on that. Why?
Well, let me say this about the investigation.
Him and Chris Watts. Oof. Oof, oof, oof. At least Chris Watts eventually admitted to it, even though, to me, I fucking will hate a motherfucker who will just sit and rot in prison and still try to maintain his innocence. At least Chris Watts confessed. Ugh.
Investigation. I gave you 2 times earlier, 9:30 and 10:30 when the dog was returned here. Investigators on both sides, law enforcement and private, have asked me not to comment any more about times, about conversations I had with the police, about the possible polygraph, tests if I've taken or I've not, and other things surrounding the investigation so that it can be clear. So I'm simply not going to comment
On why
about
you're not
those
going to
things.
take it?
I'm not going to comment if I have or have not taken a polygraph with the police.
Leaving that
The life
open-ended.
insurance policy. Why take one out on Laci? $250,000?
We have life insurance policies in place that were established when we bought this home that you're in right now 2 years ago. There was no life insurance policy taken out recently, as has been reported in the National Enquirer, the dubious source of alien information as well.
I know that a neighbor saw you removing things on the 24th. You mentioned this morning
He's like,
that
what?
it was umbrellas.
Yeah, we have some large umbrellas for the backyard pool area. Market umbrellas, I think is the term for them.
Why would you store those in the winter?
It started to rain, so I was going to store them. Just like you asked, why would I store them? I was taking them from the pool to store.
Officials of mine have told me, sources have mentioned to me, that there were cement bags that were in the storage area, and
Look at his
apparently
eyes.
a few of them were empty.
He's so
Sure.
pissed.
Explain that.
Well, I could take you out in the backyard and show you all the cement work and brickwork that we've done to this home, and you'd find
Oh, he's
cement
so
bags
mad.
around here.
So this was something that it was home remodeling.
Did he just say cement bags around her or here?
You'd find, cement bags around here.
So this was
Okay, I think he said here.
something that it was home remodeling, or what were you doing with the cement?
Yeah. And again, we're starting to go into areas that investigators have asked me not to comment about, so we should probably, simply put the brakes on at that point.
Okay.
I don't mind commenting about the life insurance policy, but I don't want to give specific times or other information that could jeopardize what they find is valuable information in finding Laci.
Okay. I know that you mentioned on Good Morning America that it wouldn't surprise you if they found blood
Sure.
in your vehicles. Explain why.
Well, take a look at my hand. You can see, cuts here on my knuckles, numerous scars.
He's so like matter of fact, like that it makes him look even more guilty. Take a look right here. In 1998, I fell on a nail, and then right here, my dog bit me in the year 96. Like, bro, stop.
I work on farms. I work with
Imagine doing all of that and still being guilty. That's fucking psycho.
machinery. I know I cut my knuckle that day
On what day?
on Christmas Eve,
Doing what?
reaching in the toolbox of my truck and then into the pocket on the door. I cut open my knuckle and there's a blood stain on the door, on the driver's side door.
Sources of mine have mentioned that you also, when you came home on the 24th, did some laundry. You washed your clothes. Do you understand why that may look
A
a
man
little
doing laundry in
suspicious to
general?
the average person? Why would he come home and do his
That's
laundry?
weird. That's suspicious.
The average guy that goes out in the ocean fishing gets some salt water on him and comes home wet.
The average guy who has a very pregnant wife doesn't go out fishing. And then he also doesn't come home from fishing and do laundry. Or bring in pool umbrellas because it's raining? What?
And so
What are you going to
you're
do
pretty
with your
tidy.
wet saltwater clothes?
Yeah. So you
Anyways,
decided-
but now again, I probably shouldn't even mention that because what they've asked me not to. So we should, we'll have to
I
stop
wanted
with
to
that line of
mention
questioning.
One other thing to you, and that was, I talked to Mr. Rocha yesterday, Dennis Rocha.
Oh, great, good.
And he didn't have too many positive things to say.
Correct.
One of the things he said, and I'm quoting here, as far as you're concerned, it's lie after lie with Scott. Does the guy ever tell the truth? Your
That's
reaction.
unfortunate that that's his thought of me.
Do you understand why he feels that way, though? As far as the girlfriend is concerned, and
Well, certainly, it was an inappropriate thing, and I never lied to Dennis. I have never lied to Dennis. I think I saw him last Laci's disappearance, and prior to that, it was a year before that Laci and I never saw him. That's her father, Dennis.
right. And I have to ask you,
Sure.
are you in any way connected to Laci's disappearance?
I had nothing to do with Laci's disappearance.
What
And
was-
again, even if people out there question that, if they would just look
he's
at
looking in the
their
camera.
hearts and make the effort to bring her home to her family, I don't care what you think of me,
Because someone out
but
there
know, someone out there knows And you can be the key to finding them by putting out that, next
Bro.
You're looking
flyer.
at the camera.
Well, it's a plea to the audience.
ahead.
That's why we're doing this.
Go ahead. I mean, if you want to make a statement to anybody who out
Well, that is. I
Oh,
mean, look in your hearts.
Oh, look at the forehead with the dripping in the sweat. Brother is sweating with fear. Sweating.
And know that you've done what you can to bring Laci home. And if you haven't, please do it. And that's going to LaciPeterson.com and printing out that flyer and putting it in every medical building, on your car, in bus stations, or use the tip lines if you have any information. That's what's going to bring her home. And think what you want of me. But you know in your hearts you should be helping Laci.
I know that.
Why does he
really
with
all I
the,
think
in
I
the
have to say.
heart
I
bullshit?
just want to ask
Thanks,
you
Gloria.
one last thing, if that's okay.
I forgot.
About Laci, because I know that you get really choked up when you talk about it. Tell me what
Yeah.
you love about Laci.
God, what, I think
Yes,
you can
the
sum
thing.
it up pretty easily with looking at her photograph. The photograph for a big smile in the press.
Because you guys met in college, or
Yeah.
and tell me what connected you two right away. I know she's got a beautiful smile, but what linked you guys?
I don't know, just being able to complete each other. I think that's it. But, I mean, you asked how, well, and all you have to do is look at that picture. And you know that she's a bright one, a bright light in a lot of people's lives. So,
You think she's still alive?
she is,
You're sure that?
yes. Laci's still alive. She's out there and someone's holding her, and these are critical days that we have left until the due date of February 16th. And we just need all of your help.
You haven't
He's
said
so
anything
messed
about
up.
your baby.
That's entirely too difficult to speak about.
Do you go into the baby's room?
No, that door's closed.
How
He
long
used
will
it as
remain
storage.
closed?
Still, there's the little guy in
By the
there.
way, you can find their house
Thank
on
you.
Zillow. It's a beautiful home. All right, that's all for. As you can tell, got more to watch, but that is all for this video. Maybe I'll do some more videos on Laci Peterson. That's just one that pulls on my strings, my heartstrings. All right, like, subscribe, do all those things, share with a friend. See you in the next one.